It's wonderful to be back home and to be with so many of you. The opportunity to visit ahead of time, I think, is the best part of what I get to do with my annual return to deliver comments to you here in Juneau. You know the drill. We start with how the family is doing, how the boys are. For those of you who are new to this chamber and don't know, when I was serving here, my boys were still relatively junior at that point in time, and they had occasion to be guest pages, and many of you came to know them. And as the years have passed and they have grown, I feel a maternal obligation to always report on their well-being, and that's a good thing. Nick is graduating from college this year, which is just phenomenal, and he's got all kinds of grand ideas about what he will do, and I'm sure he will work to accomplish all of them. Matt is a sophomore this year. He is changing majors about once a semester, and is focusing on skiing, which really is rattling to me. It's the extreme skiing, and he does very well, but I can't even keep my eyes open to watch. But he continues to make me proud. Vern is doing well. I can give you the annual update on the remodel. It's still the same remodel, but by gosh, that house is looking great. So he is doing well. I continue to be blessed by the love and support of family and of friends as well. And when I begin my comments with you and speak about family, part of it is perhaps because I consider many of you to be an extension of that family. And as families should do, families should be honest with one another. And my comments this morning will probably not be viewed as too rosy or optimistic, but they will be honest, and I think that that's important. Despite the seriousness of our nation's challenges and what we're facing, I think it's fair to say that Americans have witnessed an atmosphere of perhaps unprecedented dysfunction and partisanship in Congress that has compromised our ability to govern. The list of accomplishments out of the Senate this past year is a relatively short one. It seems that we went from impasse to crisis to kicking the can down the road. And then we would just start that cycle all over again. We have simply been unable to muster the comprehensive solutions that this country demands. And this is a pretty brutally honest assessment. I think you would agree. We have had some partial victories at the federal level, but really, given the enormous challenges that we face, this process and progress is inadequate. And that's why I'd like to use this occasion today to renew our partnership, the discussions that need to take place in overcoming what I consider to be the biggest obstacles to growing Alaska's economy. Now, we all know that federal spending and resource development drive the lion's share of our state's economy. They employ a huge share of our workforce. And our reality is that both are threatened as perhaps never before. We've seen years of deficit spending that have generated unprecedented debt that jeopardizes the ability of our federal government to meet even its very basic obligations. And meanwhile, years of denial, basically saying no, overreach by the very same government, have limited access to many of our best opportunities, whether it be for oil, for mineral, for timber production, the very things, my friends, that can help reduce our dependency on federal funds. So let's talk about the budget situation first. Fact of the matter is it is likely to get worse before it gets better. We are just 1 week shy now of sequestration. So folks all over the state are asking me the question, what is this going to mean for us here in Alaska? What is it going to mean for Alaskans? And unfortunately, there's very little certainty about a very chaotic process that that is facing us. But I think, at least in the short term, sequestration is likely to be our new reality, because what we're seeing, the plans that were put forward by the House, the Republicans on the House side, the plan that the Senate Democrats have presented, these are supported by those majorities, but not necessarily by the other chamber. And that means that decisions about every proposal, every policy, every program will soon have to be made within the context of these very indiscriminate cuts. Now, it is important to note that sequestration will shield some of the programs that are important to our state, like Medicaid, Social Security, our veterans benefits, and a few others. But things like decisions within Department of Interior, the Coast Guard, which we've been talking about, these are perhaps not going to fare as well. And because of lack of information from the administration about sequestration, we really don't know what it may mean for so many of the programs, whether it be Head Start, whether it is Indian Health Service, the BLM offices. So there is so much uncertainty at this point in time. I asked for, and the Appropriations Committee held a hearing last week on the impacts of sequestration. We had three cabinet members and someone from OMB there to hopefully detail to us what it is that we might expect. And during that hearing, the administration's witnesses, the secretaries, couldn't even agree that these across-the-board cuts should be replaced with more targeted and certainly less painful cuts. And I worry that the administration has perhaps come to view this as an opportunity to make perhaps the most visible cuts and not the least painful. We simply should not be messing with people's lives for political gain. It's as simple as that. What is certain about what we're facing now is that spending reductions are unavoidable. And the choice for us really is how do we make them? Can we do a better job than the meat cleaver approach that sequester represents? And the answer to that is absolutely we can do better. But there is not enough discretionary spending that can be cut. There are not enough revenues that can be raised that can affect a $16.4 trillion debt without real economic damage being incurred. And we cannot permanently increase taxes to secure a temporary 10-month delay to achieve sequestration targets that are intended over a 10-year time frame. And that's one of the proposals that's in front of us. So I'm continuing. We're going to work on this to push for a balanced plan. There has to be some balance to this, and that comes through targeted spending reductions. We must have an overhaul of our tax code. We must do that, as well as changes within our mandatory spending. And these are not just concepts that are floating out there. The revised Simpson-Bowles plan came out earlier this week, kind of updating and refreshing a proposal. It's tough medicine, but is it necessary for what we are facing? I absolutely believe so. Now I'm going to work to help Alaska to the greatest extent that we possibly can. We can make a case, a solid case, for federal funding. All you need to do is look at our state's demographics, look at the people that you represent, that we work for. We have the highest veteran population per capita in the country, our significant Native population that looks to federal dollars through IHS, obviously the strong presence of our active military throughout the state. We have the third highest federal employee population per capita, again, in the entire nation, here in Alaska, the third highest federal employee population. And this is due so much in part to the fact that federal ownership of over 60% of our state's lands. So again, when you look to the case, the reason why we receive so much in federal funds, it's not because we have sharper elbows. It's because of our demographics. It's because of our constituency. But whether through sequestration or through the regular budget process, we need to be prepared for a reduction in federal dollars. We need to prioritize our requests for funding, and we need to look carefully at what the state can handle on its own. And we must jointly oppose the cuts that would have the most severe impact on Alaskans. And that includes cuts to our national defense. Given our strategic location, our geographic advantages, in my view, the last frontier is one of the last places where the military capability should be reduced. And I think if the generals alone could be making these decisions, I think that our military's presence in our state would remain stable or even increase. But today, accountants also play a substantial role, and I think that helps to explain in part why the Air Force has proposed a downsizing of Eielson Air Force Base, citing costs. I contend that the benefits of Eielson are priceless to us. It's the Visa commercial. It's priceless. I continue to believe that the Air Force proposal to move the F-16s is short-sighted, and this is not parochial criticism. It's practical. We have to make cuts, but the cuts need to make sense. They need to make sense. The Air Force has acknowledged that its plan is actually going to cost. It's actually going to cost $5.6 million to implement within its first year. The savings then that are projected for future years are limited and simply do not outweigh the strategic benefits of an unencroached base in the Asia-Pacific region with strategic access to the most troubled spots around the globe. Now, the Interior delegation did a terrific job a couple weeks ago at the scoping hearings up north. We had good hearings down in South Central as well, and I appreciate how really the state came together, whether you were from the Interior or whether you're from South Central, came together on this issue and spoke up clearly, I think, to the Air Force, and I thank you for that. The Air Force is still accepting, well, yeah, it's a good one, because you do deserve that recognition. I think we got a little bit of a surprise reaction from the Air Force. I think that they thought that they could